Hey guys, let's talk Lua. Okay guys, on the menu for today is relational operators and conditional statements. I had to throw conditional statements in there because we need to actually try some of these out, some of these relational operators, and so you'll understand as we move along. But let's quickly cover some of these. So here we've got the just the basic less than or equal to, or less than, greater than sort of operators. Um, this one, of course, is the less than operator. This one is the greater than operator. These right here, as you can probably imagine, are the less than or equal to. And then the next one, this one right here, is the greater than or equal to symbol. Now those are pretty straightforward, right? That's simple. Now let's touch on these ones here. So what is going on here? Well, we've got a double equal sign, and this is where this one I'm going to kind of park out on for this episode. But then we'll also I'll briefly introduce this one. I guess right now. This is the not equal to. And so, the operator, if you saw it written in a textbook, it might be something like this. But of course, there's no symbol like that on the computer, so you kind of have to get creative. And so they just use the tilde, if I'm not mistaken, the tilde, and then the equal sign to represent not equal to. So let's hit on this real good and hard. What is that? Well, it definitely seems fairly straightforward. It's equal to, right? I mean, you're just talking about, but you for some reason have two equal signs. So I should say, in order to fully grasp and appreciate what that symbol is, I need to introduce you to what's called a conditional statement. Now, a conditional statement, if we just stop and think about that for a second, of course, we understand what statement means. It's like something that has been said, right? It's said. Now, conditional. Now, this implies that there is a condition. There is some sort of a condition that has to be met. In other words, to progress, we have to meet a certain condition. Right there, condition, right? So let's in comes the if then else statement, and of course this makes sense because it's if. All right, so let's get right into it here. The syntax, or the way you need to write it out, is first of all you write if, and that's how the computer knows that you're starting a conditional statement. Then you have the condition. And this is more of like a placeholder. It separates the condition from the code. Traditionally, well, it shows it down here. Well, I guess we'll finish here first. So then you have this, which just separates the code from the condition, and then you have here the code. And then this just signifies that you are done with the conditional statement. So what does this do? Well, as the computer comes along here, what it would do is it would say, okay, I need to ask a question. Let's pull A. So it grabs A from whatever you defined it to be, and then it compares using a logical operator, which we just introduced, that A value to 0. Pretty simple, right? I mean, it just compares some number to 0. And if it is less than 0, then it sets A equal to 0. So if A was, in this case, greater than 0, it would skip this part entirely. I guess you could even start with the then. It would skip that part entirely, and it would not assign A as 0, and A would stay the way it was. This is extremely powerful because in our code, we are then now able to make decisions and not just run from line to line, knowing exactly what the code's going to do. Now what we can do is we can have users input data, and based on that data, we can ask certain questions using conditional statements. And then the outcome of the script will change every time you use it, depending on how you answer it. Now, you'll notice that there's a few other examples. This one has else in it. We're not. Let's ignore this statement for now and skip down to this one. This one's a more traditional. This is how you will be typing it. You'll start with the if. You'll then write out the condition, and in this case, it looks like there's some sort of variable that they're comparing line to. And this is probably more sophisticated in the sense that it's actually scanning a page or something. And then, but regardless, you could write a greater than 0, right? So same thing. This is your separator, the then, and then here you have some code that gets executed if the condition is met, and then you end it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually go ahead and set us up for success, right? I'm going to have the have an input. So I'm going to ask the user, please enter a number colon. And then I think what I could do is I could probably concatenate this, but I'm just going to keep it simple. So we're going to print please enter a number. Now we're going to say a equals io.read. What that does is, if I should have introduced this already, is it allows the user to type a number. So it waits for the user to give it some input. And now we are going to try out our conditional statement. So I write if, and it highlights it as a green. So that's nice. It kind of separates it even more from all the other text and whatnot. So here we have if. Now we have to write what's next after the if. Remember, we have the conditional statement. So I just want to see, let's just keep it simple, see if a is equal to 0. No. We'll just go with what we had before. If a is less than 0, then what was it? If a was less than 0, then what we want, and I go ahead and tab. You don't have to, but I like to indent. It makes your code more readable. So and just for human eyes. So then, if a is less than 0, then we're going to want to set a equal to 0. And then we're going to end it. And then we'll say print a. All right, so now we save that. Whoops, I have no idea what just happened there. I guess I somehow copied the same line twice, duplicated. And let's just let's see how that goes. We're going to save that. We're going to go to the folder that contains our code. I'm going to shift right click and hit open command window here. And then I'm going to say test2.lua. Enter. Please enter a number 5. So we have a problem. Okay, guys, I wasn't anticipating this, but we're going to talk about coercions. So what happened? Well, when io.read read from the command line, it took my, I think it was a 5. Took my 5, right? And it assigned it to a. Now, what variable type did it use? Did it use an integer, or did it use a number variable type like I would have expected? No, it actually used a string, which means that it was text, which means it was equivalent to saying like a equals Mark. And you can't do multiplication or subtraction or compare it to 0 in any way if it's a string. So we have to do what's called a coercion. And that is, so we have to take a and we have to make it a number, because right now it's a string. So what we're going to do is we're going to say a equals a, let me keep it, b equals a plus 0. And what'll happen is when it does that, the way that Lua does it is if you do an arithmetic action to a variable, it will try to force the variable to become a number. And if it can't, then it'll error. and if it can, then the result is the number type. Sorry if that doesn't make much sense, but you don't have to understand that 100%. I just wanted to kind of show you since I ran into that problem randomly. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this script. Whoops, I need to actually change these to B's. Oops, B, and then escape gets rid of that menu. The escape key is the upper left. Control save. We're going to head over to our command prompt. We're going to do test 2. We're going to type in a 5. And what do you know? It actually works. Okay, so let's do test 2. Enter a number -2. Oh, there you go. And so what it's done there is, if you can see this, we entered a 5, and then it spit out a 5. But then we entered a -2 and it spit out a 0. So we could do this all day long, and what it'll do is if the number is less than 0, it will spit out a 0. Now let me come on back to the double equal sign that we were talking about at the beginning of the lesson. What is that? Well, let's try something out here in my code. Let's say if b equals 0, then set b equal to, I don't know, just 100. Whoops. Set b equal to 100. And you would think, right, here's our conditional statement. This is just like the condition. If b equals 0, right, that makes sense. Then set b equal to 100. And I'm telling you, this, don't forget it, is a very, very common mistake. So you know it's a mistake. Now let's run it and see what happens. Oops, I got to change back over to our cursor. All right, so we've saved our code, so we know that we're running the latest version of our code. And we're going to run test.2, and what do you know? It actually just errors out right away. It doesn't even wait for us to get to the conditional statement in the script. So what does this say? So this is complaining about this equal sign. So it says something about an equal sign, and it also says something about then, right? So we know we've got a then right here, and we've got an equal sign here and here. My guess is that what it was looking for is once it hit this equal sign right here, it said, okay, there must be another equal sign or something, or greater than or equal to or something like that. And then it ran all the way down. Oh, here it is. I found it. And then it was looking for a then right here, but there was no then. And so it says, well, look, I expected a then near the equal sign. All right, so let's actually go ahead and fix this code since I already know what the problem is. So this is where that logical operator comes in. It's the double equal sign. There's a stark contrast between these two symbols, the double equal and the equal. This is a question. That is simply a question. This is a statement. So when you type a double equal, you're saying are these two values the same? And this right here is saying these are the same. Can you tell the difference? One is a question and the other is a statement. Okay, so we've typed it out correctly. We've used our logical operator to see if those b equals 0. And let's head on over to our code, our command prompt. Run it. Let's type in a 0 and it spits back 100. Of course, if we run this again, and in order to run it, right, I just up arrow, and I press up arrow, and it brings up the last line of code that I just ran, which is test2.lua, because test2.lua is my file name. Let's plug in a 4, and it just spits out a 4. So great. Our skills are growing, and our programs are growing and beginning to know. And I guess this right here is when you talk about artificial intelligence, the conditional statement, logical operators, things like that. This is where you start to get into that field. Now, this is barely dipping your toes into it. I mean, the thing is like an ocean. I mean, as far as complexity. But this is kind of where this all starts, allowing the computer, giving the computer some ability to make choices. It's very restricted since we have told it the only thing to check. But at any rate, so we learned today about some of the logical operators, but really all the logical operators, other than the not one. We didn't try that one. And the conditional statements. So what I want you to do is do some exercises. I think I'll probably provide some in a Google document. Thanks for watching, guys.